GTFM on a Wednesday morning playing Bananarama and Robert De Niro's Waiting. And that was especially for Janet and Tony Delbridge. I hope that's put a big smile on your face. 11:17 then on this Wednesday morning, as promised, chatting to singer-songwriter Tom O'Driscoll. First of all, good morning to you, Tom. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you, Gareth.
How are you? Is it raining? Is it raining where you are?
It was raining earlier. It's kind of off and on. We had a sunny day on Monday, but unfortunately for the southeast of England, the forecast is intermittent rain for the next week.
Oh, not very good then,
well,
is
it's
it?
better than the cold snap, at least.
Yeah,
so it isn't so bad.
Absolutely. Right, first of all then, welcome to GTFM. Tell us where you're from and tell us a little bit about yourself first of all.
I'm from Hersham in Surrey, which is about 10 to 15 miles outside of southwest London, and I'm a guitarist, singer and songwriter.
All right, okay. So, teenage years, I'm guessing, is that when you first picked up a guitar?
It was a little bit before that. I was 12, almost 13, when
right.
I took up lessons, which I did for approximately 2.5 years. And by then I was proficient enough to play with the other guys at school. So having learnt to play, I used to learn songs from them whenever we used to jam in the music room. That was kind of the start of it, and that's back in about 1986, 87.
Right. So what bands or artists would you have been listening to during your school years?
I was a little bit disconnected from the 80s music. You know, I was very into 60s stuff. I learned to play because I really liked 50s rock and roll, and in turn the Beatles and the Stones, and through liking 60s music that opened the door to a lot of other stuff, you know, like The Who, a lot of the progressive rock bands that began in the 60s as well. I was also always a big fan of groups like Pink Floyd and Jethro Tull as well. So it's a real mixture.
Have you seen Jethro Tull in concert?
I've never seen them actually, and it's a bit of a failing of mine really, but I think if the chance did present itself, I really ought to go and see them, actually, because I've always been a big fan of the album Aqualung.
Oh, yeah.
In particular.
Yeah, I've seen them twice. Just to rub your nose in it.
Oh, okay, never mind, eh?
74 in Cardiff, and 1999, I believe. There was a bit of a change in the lineup then, but of course Ian Anderson, he's the frontman and the real star of the band, of course. And
he's the mainstay, I think.
He's the mainstay, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Did you have an album then that you played over and over again? Because most youngsters do, don't they?
I'd several. Aqualung was one of them. Most of the Beatle albums, in particular Sgt. Pepper and Abbey Road and Revolver. And I was also a big fan of Who's Next by The Who.
Yeah. Good album. And those Beatle albums you mentioned as well, iconic as well.
Oh, pretty much so, yeah. That's
absolutely
right.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So you play guitar. What attracted you then to play that particular instrument as opposed to, say, the keyboards or the drums?
I think it's because you have to sit down to play them, or at least you have to stand next to them if it's a keyboard, and I always had a flair for performing, and it occurred to me that I was sat at the back playing the drums. I wouldn't really get a chance to do that, nor would I if I was a keyboardist. I think the guitar, it was kind of like a teenage posy thing, actually.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I might have got into it for the wrong reasons, but at least I did stick into it. I stick with it for the right reasons, at least.
Okay, so you've mentioned a couple of bands from the 60s and of course the 70s as well, with Jethro Tull, etc., and Pink Floyd. So who was the most influential guitarist then for you during those sort of early formative years as a musician?
I had a mixture. I like different guitarists for different things that they did. I mean, for instance, I always liked Pete Townshend for his rhythm guitar playing. I mean, in those days, he wasn't such a great lead player, but because of his rhythm guitar playing, he was able to play lead to surplus, really.
Ray Davies of the Kinks as well has often been mentioned as a...
Dave Davies, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great guitarist at only 17, you know. He was
yeah.
well on the way to stardom, and I always think someone as good as that at a time when the music business was really booming, he certainly was going to get somewhere, be it with the Kinks or be it as a solo act as well, because he was that proficient from an early age, you know.
Yeah. You began playing lead guitar, and then, of course, you switched to bass, I believe, didn't you? What was the reason for that?
I always liked the sound of the bass as well, but then a bass came along when I started to play in bands, and I mean, you can't really play a bass on its own. Well, you can, but it doesn't really work in the same way as you can play a guitar alone. It was a childhood friend wanted a band, and he knew I could play both because I bought one from a friend. So I played bass in that band for about 4 years and a second band for 3.5 years. So it was kind of the second instrument. But because I did bands throughout my 20s, it kind of became the main thing. In fact, I remember playing nothing but bass for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And when I went back to playing the sixth string, it kind of felt weird because the strings are really small and the frets are really narrow.
Yeah.
As it would be, you know.
Right, what we're going to do now, we're going to have a little break, and then we'll come back to have a chat with you, Tom. So,
okay.
Now you've mentioned Jethro Tull. We're going to play Tenacity, and the start of this really is very Jethro Tull influence, would you say?
It is a little bit, yeah, the sort of picking guitar bit. I don't know whether it came from Aqualung, but now you mention it, the intro is a bit similar to what I used to call the first track on side 2, when it was vinyl. My God.
Yeah,
sound a bit
I know
like
the one.
that.
Yeah, very similar. Okay, let's have a listen, and Tom, we'll be back in just a sec.
Thank you, Gareth.
Yeah, there you go. There's Tom O'Driscoll and Tenacity. I've got to say, that's a nice bouncy number. But at the start of the track, yeah, a little bit of Jethro Tull there, I think, Tom?
Yeah, there's a couple of other people have said that. I mean, I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but when it comes to the comparison, I do quite like it, so I'm happy with it, yeah.
Yeah. So, as you said, then you were in two bands over, I guess, a 7.5 year period.
That's right.
How was the songwriting process developing over that time for you then? Were you writing alone or with, your bandmates?
Well, I didn't really get into songwriting in those days. I was more sort of concerned about learning the songs that had been written already, because when I joined the bands, the guy had written about 30 songs, so I had a lot of stuff to learn. So it didn't really occur to me to start writing my own stuff. He and I wrote a couple of songs together in about year 3 of the band, and then I wrote a song entirely by myself in that first band, which is on my solo album. I did re-record it for the album Tenacity.
Yeah, done a good job, yeah.
In the second band, much the same thing happened. There was a lot of songs written already, so I had the job of learning these. I mean, we made an album, and I've got one song on that, and I wrote another one, which is the first track on the album Tenacity, which we used to play live, but it wasn't written in time for the band album itself. And it was only after I quit doing the bands in my 30s I started to write, really.
Yeah. So, when did you actually write and record your album then? How many years back are we talking about?
Oh, it was. I began working on it in 2012, and the studio was available. I might get like one date a month, and then it wouldn't be available for 4 months, depending on who else was there. It was finally wrapped up and finished about just almost 10 years ago, actually.
So how would you describe the album? Acoustic, soft rock, sprinkled with some heavier tracks?
I suppose it's kind of pop rock. I don't know. It's I never really named it as a genre. I just sort of played it to people. I mean, there's a lot of stations have played it. I mean, there's a station that only really plays kind of dance music, funk, and they've played tracks from it.
Oh, right.
And there's another station that just really plays the up-to-date music that have played a couple of tracks from it. So, don't know really. I mean, labels and stuff. I mean, if you can avoid a label for as far as possible, I think you're doing okay, really, because you're not going to be in danger of being pigeonholed.
And as for playing, Tom, is it the London area? I mean, you're from Surrey. I mean, is that where you normally play, that area? I mean, there's enough venues there to play.
There is. I mean, I haven't really played live for a long. The last time I did an actual live performance was before lockdown. I mean, I haven't got back into it. I mean, since lockdown finished, a lot of venues were hit hard by it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really afford to put on acts. And even now, I mean, the stuff around here, they're only doing it occasionally. They're still testing the water, so to speak. London, I haven't actually been there for a while. And actually, to do a London gig's often pretty tricky because it means driving there.
Yeah, and then there's the problems of parking, because parking in London isn't great, let's be honest.
It's not great, and then you've got to lug your gear from where you park to the venue, and the pavements are all crowded too, so
it's not easy.
It's a bit of a mission. It's a bit like playing the Krypton Factor almost.
Now, one of the reasons for today's interview, I mean, you'd like to play gigs around the country more, including Wales.
Love to, actually, yeah. I mean, I haven't been to Wales in a long time. I've always loved it whenever I have gone there. But yeah, it would be great to come and visit again and play to people. I mean, there's a couple of bands I like at Welsh.
Yeah, good.
I've seen the Manic Street Preachers 5 times.
Oh, right, yeah. Not bad, eh? What about the Phonics?
The Phonics, I've never seen them live, but I used to do a version of one of their songs at my gigs.
Right. Which one was that?
I Wouldn't Believe Your Radio, I think.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I've always liked them. I've always liked Kelly Jones's voice, yeah.
He can do a bit, does Kelly? He can play guitar.
He can, actually. I mean,
right.
I did watch the St David's Day Top of the Pops rerun when they had a lot of Welsh bands on there, a lot of Welsh singers, and yeah, that included the Stereophonics, the Manics doing Design for Life, Tom Jones, of course.
Of course.
Cerys Matthews, I've always liked as well.
Yeah, not a bad array of talent.
Chain, who I've always found very amusing. I don't know whether that's the intention, but I think a lot of the stuff they do rap about is quite funny.
Yeah. Now, you're working on a second album as well, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
How was that progressing?
That's in demo formation. Most of the music's written. The only thing is trying to get the words, because I'm trying to do something different from what I did on the last album. And I've often written stuff, and it's been a little bit tricky to not do the same thing twice. I sort of work on it, then I leave it for a bit, scribble down ideas and come back to it. I mean, almost have like a pile of pieces of scrap paper, you know, some to use, some I can't use, and some I can use, but they need to be rewritten. It's very slow to do this one. There is a myth in music that your second album is always the hardest one to do. So I'm hoping if I do a third one, that's going to be much easier. I mean, the third one, time will tell, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, we've run out of time. How can people get in touch then to buy the album? And if somebody wants to invite you to a gig, to play, perform here in Wales, what's the contact details that you've got?
I'm on Facebook. I mean, that's about the only social platform that I use. I mean, I only really use my Facebook page to promote my own music, really, you know. So, I mean, I can be found on there.
Okay.
My profile picture is me playing a guitar by a microphone, so it's quite easy to decide or to realise it's me, sort of thing.
Yeah. Just look out for Tom O'Driscoll and a guy playing guitar, and that's probably you.
Thank you very much, Gareth.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for joining us, Tom. It's nice to have a chat with somebody the other side of the border to find out what's happening there in the music world. And, by all means, if people want to get in touch, then they can do so. And hopefully you'll be appearing at a venue very soon here in Rhondda Cynon Taf. Tom O'Driscoll, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Gareth. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers, buddy.
GTFM Community Message.
Do you look after someone? If you provide unpaid care to a family member or friend due to age, illness or disability,